in our show from Los Angeles. Right now, we go to Rob Parker, who is standing by from Japers Rink, and an article entitled "The Best Team of the Ovechkin Era." There's a question mark at the end of it, by the way. Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Good, John. Glad to be back. I hope California's treating you well.
Yeah, so far so good. I see a lot of sunshine from the inside of this room. I plan on remedying that later, if at all possible. Rob, I want to ask you, before we get to the article, I want to ask you about the game last night and some of what Patrick was just talking about and what obviously Justin Williams was frustrated by in his comments after the game, Barry Trotz, others. I think to a man, I think we've heard it a lot from the room. How much are we nitpicking at a team that's one short of 50 and right now the best team in Capitals history in all likelihood versus a level of concern with all these one-goal games and getting off to a number of pretty poor starts lately?
Honestly, I don't think it's nitpicking at all. I think it's a major concern. JP from our site is looking at some first-period numbers, and it's pretty stark. Teams that don't do well in the first period don't tend to progress too far into the playoffs. I guess now that I've said it out loud, he actually has to write that post, but it's tough. We're looking at patterns that don't put the Capitals in the realm of teams that they want to be with. And I heard you reference human nature, and that certainly is a justification you could take if you want to go that route. But the 2010 team didn't do that. You've seen other teams not do that. You can understand it, but it's not a nitpick. It's not a little thing that is just one of those bumps in the road. It's been a trend all year that we've been watching, and they've talked about it, and there really hasn't been any improvement.
The article, which somewhat segues into this, the best team of the Ovechkin era, and I guess potentially the best team in Capitals history, if you want to go down that road. It's funny that this week we would be here in California. Bruce Boudreau got the question when we were in Anaheim, and he said this team is better than the 09-10 team because of the maturity, because guys like Carlson and Alzner are now veterans and leaders on the team as opposed to the kids, and Alex Ovechkin has grown into the captaincy, and now at age 30 and over 500 goals. And you guys went through in this article, and I just tweeted it out for those who haven't had a chance to see it. Go ahead and take a look at it. But you and JP comparing that President's Trophy team of 09-10 and the rest of Caps history with this one, you say, without a doubt, this team is better. What do you have that backs that up?
Well, it's really qualitative. It's the kind of point that Boudreau was making. I look at it just man-to-man. You know, Mike Newell was a great fit, but TJ Oshie can do more, and he's more versatile. The second line is just way better with Kuznetsov at the second-line center, Burakovsky and Williams. The defense is so much more mature. I think that's the starkest difference. You look at a veteran Carlson and Alzner. You have Orpik playing tough minutes. Even Schmidt and Orlov. I think those guys would have probably been solidly top four back in the 2009-2010 team, just based on their puck skills and their skating. And, man, if Boudreau had those guys, they would have been lighting it up. And, Holtby's numbers have kind of come down a little bit based on his recent slide, malaise, whatever you want to call it, since about the All-Star break. But I'll take Holtby over the Varlamov-Theodore tandem that we had in 2009-2010. That said, JP made some good points. You can say the guys are better. You can look at the roster man-to-man, but if it's not showing up on the ice, then are they really better? You know, you can take the position. The only thing that matters are the wins and what my eyes see, but if you want to be a critical thinker, if you want to be the kind of person that looks for objective evidence, you need to be a little bit more concerned. And when you see that these teams that seem inferior on ice outperform this team in a lot of metrics, it is cause for concern.
Rob Parker from Japers Rink joining us here as the Capitals getting ready for San Jose and the game on Saturday night. Our last show here in Southern California this week before heading north, and the Sharks coming up on Saturday night. The defense, I know, was a subject here, and there are some similarities. I mean, if Tom Poti is your guy in 09-10, Brooks Orpik is probably the equivalent this time around. You've got John Carlson and Carl Alzner, who are part of both of those teams, but very different players and where they are in their careers right now. How does the defense stack up for you?
I really like it. I think as long as they can stay healthy, especially if Carlson can get back to where he is, this is a much deeper defense. They can roll a couple different pairs that can handle top-line minutes, which really wasn't the case in 2009-2010. They at most had one pair that you could throw out there against top competition. Alsner and Niskanen have played a lot of tough minutes. Even Nate Schmidt filled in on the top line for a lot of the year. So I think they have a bunch of guys ready to handle those minutes. And when you slot Schmidt down to that third pair, he and Orlov have been really, really strong this year. They've been kind of beaten up on lower competition, and I would expect that to continue. And then, of course, they got Weber for the depth, and Chorney has played well all year, so they're in much better position to withstand injuries. And I know that I kind of framed the comparison as 2009-2010 versus this year, but 2011 was a really good team. And if you look at the playoffs, all of their defensemen, specifically their right-handed puck-moving defensemen, got hurt against the Rangers and then into the Tampa Bay series, and it really, really hobbled them. This year, they're in a better position to withstand injuries. So I think healthy, the lineup is better, but also once the injuries hit in, they're still going to be better, and they're going to be better able to withstand that.
It is, of course, nothing more than a theoretical argument and just throwing out ideas on what may be better at position by position and player by player. But is there anyone that you would like to see that would perhaps be from that time period in 09-10 that would fit in and be able to not only be on this team, but maybe even have this team at a greater height? I would imagine from reading the article, you might put Mike Green on that list.
Yeah, immediately. That was the first guy I was thinking of. 2009-2010, Mike Green was still a Ferrari. He was at the top of his game and really was robbed of at least one, maybe two Norris trophies by some bitter division journalists and Canadian journalists, but that's a digression for another day. You throw him on there and, sorry, Schmidt or Orlov, one of you guys are going to drop out of the lineup, but that defense looks incredibly deep and dangerous. Obviously, I think Nick Backstrom and Alex Ovechkin were a little better in 2009-2010, but it's probably not fair to just turn back the clock on age for them. But, I'll take that 2009-10 Green, and this team is just unstoppable.
No, without a doubt. And, Rob, heading in now to San Jose and facing a team that is very much just like everybody else out here this week in a Pacific Division dogfight, trying for standings points. The strangest thing about the Sharks, they can beat anybody on the road. They beat the Capitals back in October in Washington's second game of the season. There were some other circumstances there, no Alex Ovechkin for one. But this team has struggled at home. I can't believe for all the Eastern teams that have to make the trek out here and the tough travel, and you're out here for a long time, and it was a house of horrors for 2 decades for Washington. They've won a couple straight now, but San Jose is not a team that plays very well at home. How do you see the Cap Sharks matchup coming up here this weekend?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm baffled. I hope that the Caps aren't just what the doctor called for the Sharks to get off the schneid, but like you said, the Caps have won a couple. I don't get it. They're a good team. They're going to battle. They have to worry about their issues. For me, I just am going to keep looking at, can the Caps come out strong in a hostile environment? Even if the Sharks aren't winning, that's a pretty good arena. They got some good fan support. And then number 2, I just keep waiting for Holtby to break out of his little slump. I thought that Anaheim game was really strong and that could have been the springboard. I don't necessarily blame him a whole lot for last night, but again, you never want to see 4 goals against. That's not the sign of a great game. So I'm looking more at that. I'm a pessimistic Caps fan. I think Mike Vogel said it best. Caps fans don't ask if the glass is half full or half empty. They wait for the glass to break. So I see a Sharks team that looks due for a win at home, and a Caps team that historically struggles there and has been getting off to slow starts. A fast start for the Sharks is maybe what they need to get a little home confidence. So I hope it doesn't play out that way, but that's sort of the competing storylines there as I see it.
Well, we will learn together on Saturday. Hey, Rob, thanks for joining us, and thanks for the article and the mentions again here as far as it's concerned, and stacking up the team that's around this year versus the rest, the best team of the Ovechkin era. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, John. Anytime.